to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Okay, we're going to get ready to approve the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
Make a motion, we approve the agenda as presented.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Laws and seconded by Mr. Handy to approve the agenda. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right. Public comment. Do we have one? Okay. As indicated on the public comment sheet that you have, when your name is called, you will have 3 minutes to speak. You are expected to remain in the designated area for speaking with the board, and failure to do so will result in your forfeiting your allotted time. Please note that the board members are not obligated to respond to you within your 3-minute time slot. However, administrative staff may be identified and asked to provide follow-up on specific questions or personal issues regarding your children after your meeting.
Okay, good evening, members of the board. My name is Amy Reynoso, and thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. And thank you for the communication that we had this past week. I am speaking on behalf of Educate Delaware, a nonprofit organization whose mission is about family engagement. I wanted to speak to the board about ways to help increase opportunities where families can be involved. In July, we began outreach to the district to learn ways that parents can participate in board committees. I now understand there is a financial committee that meets monthly over Zoom, and starting next month, a Zoom link will be made available on the website. I learned a new committee was posted on August 6th for communication advisory for parents to join. We were also wondering about the policy committee as mentioned in board docs. Can parents request to join this committee? If so, how can parents request to join? Is the policy committee a public meeting that parents can attend even if they're not on the committee? The next thing I'd love to bring to your attention is public notice. It was explained to me that public notices are posted outside of the district office, and I was hoping to encourage your district to share public notices digitally for all public meetings. This can help parents who may not have the opportunity to drive to district office. Also, online translation tools such as Google Translate can help families who don't speak English or read English. That's it. Thank you so much for allowing me the chance to speak to you tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. Did you fill out the paper and we have your name and number?
Yes.
and email?
I have it.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, somebody will get back to you with your answers to your questions.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the consent agenda.
No other comments?
No, no other public comments, is that correct?
Nope.
Okay. Okay.
So if you wanted to leave at this time after public comment, feel free to stay.
Thank you.
We're having the preliminary budget tonight.
Yes, I'm actually quite interested.
Good.
Thank you.
All right. Do we hear a motion regarding the consent agenda?
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Laws, seconded by Dr. Dorsey. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor signify with aye. All opposed, nay. All aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're going right into updates and action items. And our first action item tonight is the Colonial Board has been presented with the resignation of the board member for District C for consideration and action. District administration is working with legal counsel to develop an appointment process to fill the vacancy. That board member is with us tonight, Jalissa White. We want to thank you for your service. We are sorry to see you go. And if you could come forward, we have something for you. Does the board, any of the other board members have any comments? Some parting goodies here. So this says, there's a certificate of recognition to Jalissa White for your dedication and service to the Colonial School District Board of Education, Public Education, the children and community of the Colonial School District. Thank you. And just a couple of goodies. All right. Okay, do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the resignation of District C as presented.
Second?
Second.
Okay, moved by Dr. Dorsey and seconded by Mr. Laws. Are there any questions or comments?
I do. If I wanted to reverse that, how would I go about doing that?
If you wanted to what?
Reverse my resignation?
Give us a call and we can talk about that.
Okay, thank you.
Well, it's not that easy.
But we need to, I don't think we should discuss that now within public session, so we can call.
Yes, we did. It's a public meeting, so if it's approved, then it's gotta be handled completely different than if it's not approved. And we have a motion on the floor, so.
We did. Any other questions or comments?
There would be a process you'd have to go through.
And that's what she's asking with the process, as we don't have an answer for her today.
Okay, all right. You got a motion on the floor.
Okay. Have no more comment. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Alrighty, next is action items, updates and action items. The board was given copies of the following board policies for a first read in July 2024. This is the second reading, and the administration is seeking a motion of consideration and action upon the board's policies as presented. 306 Teacher Day, 311 Drug and Alcohol Free Workplace, 315 Smoking, 118 Crisis Response Plan, and 608 Construction Change Order. And you all received them within your documents.
Okay. And the board will be approving each policy separately.
Yes.
So regarding policy 306, regarding the Teacher's Day, do I have a motion?
Make a motion, we approve it as presented.
Second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. Policy 311, drug and alcohol-free workplace. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion, we approve it as posted.
Second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Policy 315, smoking.
Make a motion, we approve it as presented.
Second?
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Policy 118, the crisis response plan. Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve policy 118, crisis response plan as presented.
Second?
Second.
We have a tie, so we have a motion by Mr. Handy and a second by Dr. Dorsey. Any questions or comments regarding this policy? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. 608, construction change orders. Do we have a motion regarding this policy?
So moved.
So it's
Change
been,
it, make a motion, we approve it as presented.
second?
Second.
Are there any, it's been moved by Mr. Laws and seconded by Mr. Handy. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Alrighty. As previously discussed, recent federal regulations require the district adopt a new Title IX policy. That will be number 119, Title IX implementation. The federal government has updated the Title IX policy. Therefore, we have created policy 119 to address new components that are included within the policy. We will continue to keep policy number 110 for Title IX for any behavior that is alleged to have occurred before August 1st, 2024. Policy 119 will address any behavior that is alleged to have occurred on or after August 1st, 2024. The new policy is unchanged. However, it does outline the process for investigation in more detail to ensure impartial and fair process for all involved. In addition, it describes options for outcomes and details such as supportive measures, sanctions, and/or informal resolutions. Per recommendation of legal counsel, adoption of this policy does not require the board to follow the established first and second read process. Therefore, we request the board approve policy number 119 on its first read.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion regarding this policy?
I move that we waive the first and second read process as outlined in board policy number 4 and approve policy 119, Title IX as presented on the first read.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments?
Do you have a copy of that available?
I do.
Nikki, you know exactly which section was changed?
Holly, isn't it at the bottom? I should be making note.
It's changed throughout, but most of the things that are changed are the things around mandated reporters, the scope of the actual investigation itself, and how to actually do the investigation. They're the things that are changed. It really lays out like how to do the investigation and what the requirements are. It's much
Let's,
more detailed.
Take a, Chairman request a 10-minute recess so we can review these documents real quick.
Okay.
I got some specific questions that I want to go over with, since Holly seems to know it pretty much, to go through a couple things real quick if we can. All right?
Nikki and I will keep them.
Yeah.
Sure. We can go make some copies and.
So are you making a motion to recess?
I am.
So do I need to have a second?
You do?
Second.
Okay. I mean, do we need to vote on a recess? Yeah.
You can declare a recess. Yeah.
Okay, all right, I declare a 10-minute recess. Okay, we are back in public session, and we have a motion on the floor, which has been seconded, which is to approve the
Waive the first.
Title IX.
we're gonna waive the first reading and the new language in this policy. So are there any further comments or discussion?
The only comment is that the changes are being made to comply with federal law.
Correct. Anything else? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Alrighty, so next, the administration is seeking, consideration and action upon 2 field trips. The first is William Penn FFA students, approximately 12 students, 2 staff and chaperones. Students are, to compete in the regional competition and see the agricultural industry for the region at the Big E in Springfield, from September 12th, 2024 to September 15th, 2024.
Make a motion, we approve the field trip application for William Penn FFA students, September 12th to 15th.
I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Do we have any comments or questions?
That's one of the questions, make sure that, you know, even there are sound like there are chaperones going on the
Yes,
trip with the students too.
yes,
They're also going through the same clearances that our employees go through to work with our students.
yes. Alrighty.
Anything else?
Second trip, seeking consider, oh, go.
All in favor?
Yeah, we didn't do it
Okay,
yet. That's
okay.
fair.
Mhm.
Okay, having no more comment, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion carries.
Second trip that we would like to take action on is the, William Penn FFA students. Again, 12 students, 3 staff, 3 chaperones. Students will compete again in the Ag Science Fair and will compete in leadership workshops in Indianapolis and Zanesville, Ohio from October 21st, 2024 through October 27th, 2024.
Make a motion that we approve the field trip for the FFA from October 21st through the 27th in Indianapolis.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. Is there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries.
Next up, we will have Ms. Emily Falcon, Colonial's Chief Financial Officer, to provide the preliminary budget for the fiscal year 2025, which covers the period July 1, 2024 to July 30th, 2025. A final budget will be submitted after the unit count is finalized and
Thank you, Dr. Jones. Does anyone have any objection to me sitting and, no? Okay, thank you. Okay, as Dr. Jones said, we are talking about the FY25 preliminary budget. For some reason, my cursor's not, I'm not advancing the slides here, sorry. So we are, this is the financial plan for the 24-25 school year. Again, as Dr. Jones said, we will present the final budget to the board for approval after certification of the unit count. So this year's budget, we are definitely taking a wait-and-see approach on enrollment. As we know, enrollment drives the majority of our state revenue, and so we're being cautious. I have based the revenue projections on an assumption that we will have fairly stagnant enrollment, meaning I'm not expecting a big increase, and I'm hoping for no big decreases for the year. So I did review this with the Finance Committee on August 6th, last week, and they did recommend approval during that meeting. So to talk to revenues for first, the total state funds, we are projected to get about an 8% increase over where we were last year. By far, the very biggest increase is coming from additional salary dollars that are from investments the state is making into public education compensation. Teachers this year are getting roughly 8%, 8+% in their salary. And we also are seeing some increases in the investment of opportunity funding. And there was a K-4 reading position that we did not qualify for that last year. We qualify again this year. That bumped up some of the state dollars that we are receiving in the restricted areas. Discretionary funding is expected to stay stagnant because again, that is coming from factors that are enrollment driven or proportional in share. So if our proportion of the students statewide is decreasing, then we're gonna look at basically either flat or small decreases. And there are several zeroed out amounts in the restricted state funding section that reflects our continued practice of essentially giving back some of the restricted state funding in order to gain funds in discretionary areas. And the practice that we've done is we continue the budget authority for those programs, but we use discretionary funding so that we can capture any savings that they're using by not using the full budget authority. So moving to local revenues, we're actually looking at a decrease from last year. Because of the staggered referendum, we are still deficit spending. So we were not able to fully close the gap because we have another 15 cents of revenue that is going to be coming from the next 2 tax cycles. The gap was significantly closed from over 10 million last year to just over 3 million for this year, because the increase was basically generating about $7 million increased revenue. Part of the decrease overall is that there are some restricted revenue lines that are decreasing. We did take the tuition tax rate down by a couple pennies because of the cash balances there, and some grants are expiring, so that decrease is not coming with any programmatic impact. The allocations for our federal entitlement grants, unfortunately, are also seeing minor declines, looking at about -1% from last year. There is another line that is basically a catch-all for any competitive federal funding that we might receive, and I am expecting that to decline, which is causing the overall federal bucket to be at about -5%.
Question.
Yes.
So, is that due to enrollment?
The allocation shifts for the entitlement grants, it could be due to enrollment. I'm not 100% up on the most of the time federal allocations are based on a combination of low income status and enrollment. So those two things combined, it could be due to our declining enrollment, but it could be because the data driving the low income information coming from the feds has been unreliable for some time. So it could be that it's showing that we are a little bit less poor, even though we know on the ground that that's not necessarily the case.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So overall revenue for FY25, we are looking at that increasing by about 3% over last year. So when we move to the expenditure side of the budget, the wait and see approach that I'm using for this preliminary, for these preliminary projections, basically are giving us the most amount of flexibility as those enrollment numbers come in. As a management practice, I don't like to extend budget authority and then claw it back at a point later in the year. So I would rather wait and hold a larger amount of money from what they receive, from what budgets were allocated last year, and be able to give more if our enrollment picture, looks good, versus having to hold less back now, and if enrollment doesn't stay where we think it should, having to claw money back in the middle of the year. So this gives us the most flexibility to make better decisions in a couple months when our enrollment numbers have been confirmed. And that's where that 75% number is coming from. The exception, any time where there was a restricted budget, where we knew what the allocation was going to be, or there was good information that it needed to be, above that 75%, the salary budget being a big one, we've rolled over positions, we know where we're landing for our salary number, so setting that at 75% would have been, disingenuous, because we know that's gonna not be the case. And we don't have as much flexibility in that salary number. So again, restricted budgets have been updated and are reflective of the most accurate data that we have about either expected spending or what the allocation from that funding source is gonna be. Nutrition and transportation, those budgets, there's a little bit more detail included in the final budget, and we don't do those final numbers until we have our enrollment confirmed. Our Leach budget, you will see that there's a rather large increase from last year. They did see a big need for contractual staffing for vacancies and substitutes last year, as well as the transportation expenses did come in a little bit higher than expected. So I've set those budgets at where they need to be to provide an accurate picture there. So overall, our expenditures are looking at increasing by about 3%. Again, this number is going to grow once we look at the final budget, see where our enrollment has landed, and adjust some of those 75, kind of holdback numbers to a more realistic picture once our final enrollment numbers come through. Some other items to point out that are included in the preliminary budget document. We do have an overview of our tax rates and expected receipts, which is essentially a restatement of the tax warrant information that you were presented in July. I've also included information on where we stand with our ESSER $3, the balance as of July 1 of 24, what we basically expect to spend until the obligation period, which is coming up at the end of September, and then the late liquidation request that we did put forward, and it was actually earlier today, we were told by DOE that has been approved. So we have, I think it's close to $7.6 million that we are requesting a late liquidation for, that will allow us to continue spending those ESSER dollars into January of 2026.
When do they run out, ESSER dollars? When do we have to use the money?
Without the late extension, they'd have to be obligated by the end of this September and actually paid out the door by November. The late liquidation extends that to January of 26. So,
Which is a whole other year.
yes, it's actually 18 months.
Yeah.
15, 18 months. And then there's also a summary of the major capital funds that we've received as a result of the successful capital referendum this year, as well as the new Leach School that is 100% state funded, but we are receiving major cap funds for that this year as well. Before I move on to the next slide, there is one other item that I neglected to put in the presentation that I want to make the board aware of and draw your attention to. There is a line item in the revenue section for charter school tuition payments. This past year, we went through a very extensive process with the Department of Education that resulted in a regulation getting changed that is in effect for FY25 that put a new process in place for charter schools to receive tuition dollars specifically, charter schools to receive tuition dollars specifically. This has not been done in the past, and so I do want to just highlight that as a point of information, and any questions you have on that, I'd be happy to answer, but I wanted to make sure to highlight that for the board.
Is that finalized, or is there something they're still talking about?
in terms of the process.
Correct.
The regulation is finalized. DOE has provided information on what, the procedures are for how we're moving forward with that. And I do believe there is still some conversation about, how to move forward and whether or not there's gonna be any further action by school districts on that regulatory change, but I've not heard of anything official, so. So, in summary, despite the successful referendum, for which we are very grateful to our community, our enrollment projections continue to require that we stay very thoughtful and very cautious around budget growth and how we are allocating dollars going out the door. As I mentioned, the ESSER funds, the ESSER $3 is the last remaining resources that came from the pandemic relief. And with those essentially gone, we really have to make sure that all decisions moving forward are looking at sustainability and, is this something that we can keep going in the long run? And, as always, my office and the entire administration continue to look for ways to leverage every funding source that we have to maximize the programming that we can put in front of our kids. So,
Thank you.
I would entertain any questions.
Sure, I'll have questions for you next month.
Any questions or comments? All right, do I hear a motion regarding the preliminary budget?
I move that we approve the preliminary budget for 2024-2025 school year as presented.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Laws. Are there any other last comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries. And I believe that is the end of our action items. Nope,
That's one more. So next, I will provide a status report about the preparation for the 2024-2025 school year. All staff, and I say all staff, have been working hard to prepare for students. Custodians have cleaned and supported contractors in the building throughout the summer, and while creating their engaging in their required tasks, to ensuring that our buildings are clean. Most buildings are ready to go. There are 3 buildings that do require some additional attention. William Penn, in the lobby of William Penn will be completed, but the 2 restrooms are not finished. So, when students come in to school on the 26th, those restroom areas will be closed, but the lobby will be ready to go. They will continue to work, to prepare and get those restrooms ready. I know that there are a lot of materials that are on back order. So we're at the mercy of,
the supply chain.
the supply chain. Castle Hills, secure entry. They've been working on a secure entry. We're not sure if it's gonna be ready or not for the first day of school. We have walked the building. There are doors adjacent to the main door that students will go through. Right now, there are only 2 hallways that go through that main door because buses come through the side. If you're in this grade, you go through this side. So there's a door on the adjacent of the main lobby door that students will go through, and there's signage around the building for parents as to where they should enter as well. The same with Pleasantville, secure entry. They're gonna start that this week. It won't be done before the first day of school. Again, we have doors that students will go through. There are only 4 buses at Pleasantville. So those students will be able to go to the, enter the building to the door to the left. New teacher orientation tomorrow and Thursday at William Penn High School. We will have an ice cream social on Thursday. If you all want to attend. at William Penn. We are not in the main lobby. We are on the E wing, the east wing down CAF 2. So we'll be on the second half of the building to allow for the people that need, the contractors that need to work to continue to work to get things ready for the first day of school. But other than that, we are ready to go.
Okay, good. Any questions, comments? Okay, that brings us to Delaware School Board Association, updates.
There are no updates.
There are no updates, and Mr. Crossan is not here tonight. He's the legislative committee rep, and he is not here.
I think the next meeting's in September.
Okay, and with that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in fa- I know, I'm looking at my directions. There's a problem with my directions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right,
What would you do?
meeting is adjourned. I don't